come to you today not only to bless us, but to bless our community and county. And thank you for allowing us to come together peacefully to help preserve our history. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please
Pledge
join me in
allegiance.
the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, need a roll call, please.
Commissioner Leyland.
Present.
Commissioner File.
Here?
Chair Dice.
Yes.
Commissioner Marquetti.
Here.
Commissioner Benjamin.
Here.
Commissioner Grice.
Here.
And Commissioner Jones.
Present.
Okay, we have introduction of visitors. We'll start with you. Yeah, with you.
I have with me, the Cass County Historical Commission, represented here by some volunteers, and I myself is on the commission.
Need your names.
Jean Schultz, thank you,
I know.
Skip.
Zane Langford, Penn Township Historical Society.
Ann Gillian with the Historical Society.
Charlene Struck, Historical Society.
Kathy LaPointe, Landing Township.
Ron McAdam, Cass County Historical Society.
I'm Roshan Elton, I'm the content manager for the county. Jennifer Renfro, finance director.
John Walsh, Plaza Court.
Either Andy Wenzel with Plaza Corp.
Lindsay Reed with Intersect Studio.
Bill Laditka with Intersect Studio.
And Matt Bastos with Plaza Court.
Hope Anderson, county treasurer.
Mary Howie, candidate, 5th District Commissioner.
Dave Reed, Cass County Facilities Director.
Clint Roach, Undersheriff. Rod Johnson, Road Commissioner. Richard Mackey. Sure. Matt Sarden, Leader of Publications.
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
Oh. Yeah. Wow.
You guys need to be careful what you say now.
I assure you I am not going to.
All right, let's calm ourselves down. Public comment. We have a 3-minute public comment session. You have 3 minutes. You can make a public comment. State your name. Go to the podium. State your name and tell us where you're from, please.
Zane Langford, citizen, and I have a few remarks. Number one, in the future, would you please announce when you are having meetings regarding the courthouse? This building belongs to everyone, not just the BOC. And so there are many people in the community that would like to be a part of the development and the use of the courthouse. Number two, please speak loudly. I notice you don't have your microphones, and if you're speaking into your chest, we can't hear you. So, but as a courtesy to the people in the back of the room, just speak up. Let's see, then, my last question is, who do we talk to if we have questions or concerns or want to know about the courthouse? Do we talk to you people? Do we talk to Plaza Corp? Do we talk to Intersect? Who is the communication between the public and the BOC? Because we're kind of in the dark. We only found out about this meeting by happenstance. Thank you.
Floor is open.
Richard Mackey, sure. Just a few comments from the agenda and the packet that came with it. I learned some things that were disturbing to me that are being considered. And I've talked to several of you about this, but I just wanted to make those, some I have not, did not get a chance to talk to Commissioner Benjamin, but I just want to be on the same page. I'm concerned that the items for the sheriff's office renovation and jail projects that were approved by you as a board to be done through some of this ARPA money are being put on the back burner, shelf, whatever you want to call it, to fill in the blanks for the over budget, for lack of a better term, of the new renovation of the courthouse, historic courthouse. I've been assured that these projects will come back, but I'm pretty sure through my tenure, these projects are gonna be put on the back burner and may never come back. We're going into a recession, we're going into a different board of commissioners, and these areas affect public safety. My jail system, which was part of this project, is 22 years old. 22 years old, so it needs to be updated. I've been told we can get financing for that, but once again, in my experience, that's very hard to do, to have people go into the wells to do that. So I'm disappointed that these projects got put on the back burner. These projects started in March and April, May, June. I'm just talking about the sheriff's office, jail, and administrative renovations. But no action has been taken by Intercept since then. We met, we went over some plans, I've inquired, but they've never come back to me with any updates or anything, and I feel that was intentional. It's because they knew that this money wasn't going to be there. I don't have facts for that, that's just my personal opinion. But the facts that I was not being kept in a loop or not responded to was not acceptable. So I just want to make you informed of this information. Like I said, I've talked to several of you personally. I just want to kind of put this on the record so that people understand that public safety is getting the backseat on this. Thank you.
Floor is still open. Okay. As for the approval of the agenda, Commissioner File.
I don't have my agenda. Where are we at?
Just approval of the agenda.
Oh, okay, that's easy. I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Probably moved, supported to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion on that? No, we'll vote. It's a motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Approval. The agenda is approved. Start with presentations. The number one is historic courthouse design and development. Intersect Studio Plaza Court. Go ahead.
Right, well, big suspense build up here for this presentation, so the most I've ever had was great. Good morning, commissioners, elected officials, and distinguished guests. Bill Laditka with Intersect Studio, principal there, and Lindsay Reed, who just ran out to grab the clicker, also is our project manager, architect on this project. So she'll be helping as well. We're here to give you an update of the progress we've made. And we've spent about 5.5 months really digging into the building from the schematic design we presented to you back in February, I believe it was. And so deep investigations, as you know, some demolition has happened to really uncover what's going on in the building. The building built in 1899 and renovations and many layers of things in there. So that's been all opened up. So we've been able to really understand how the building was put together and discover what was underneath and behind things. So the design development phase, which we have just finished, what that has done is locked in all of the design elements. We've identified all of the components, the materials, dimensions of things in terms of quantities, so that we could do a very thorough budgeting exercise to get to a guaranteed maximum price. With that process, we also did something we call oftentimes value engineering, which is to, as dollars come in, look for opportunities and work with subcontractors to identify ways to cut dollars out of that. So that was a very extensive process here that we went through as well, to the tune of about $1.3 million in reducing costs through that process. So we're here today to present the plan, and what we've come up with is what we believe your team has asked for and would provide everything that they need to do their jobs properly to serve the public. And so we'll take you through some plans here a little bit and to get into some details. And so starting on the ground level, again, in concept, the plans are very similar to what you've seen in the past, where we're still, so the parking lot is to the top of the page, and the annex we are sitting in is off the page to the left. You can see then the little gray area just on the left side, the smaller box area, That's actually where the toilet rooms are in the connector between the historic courthouse, which is the larger square to the right, and then again, the annex would be off the page to the left, so varies. So coming and entering the building from the back side, the same doors that we entered today on the ground floor will be used where the green awning structure is, from the parking lot side, so that functions the same. Something new is the employees, though, of the building will have an entrance through that beautiful little arch into the historic building on the ground floor from the back. And as they come in, they'll have a little bit of a break area, mail rooms, kind of
Okay.
behind the scenes, connect space, and a couple of employee use only toilet rooms.
Oh, thank you.
See if they have it.
And
There you go.
Okay.
so,
Sorry.
also on the ground floor, then we have equalization and IT departments will be down there, as well as a chapel. The chapel sits right in the middle in yellow. So that can function as a conference room for meetings, as well as when people come in for a ceremony for marriage, or other events like that. It has glass doors that open up or enclose the space as needed, and right in the center. So we're able to accommodate more people with a little overflow out into the, this is awesome. And also in the green area, this is for the veterans. And so we positioned them as close as we could to the front entry, limit the distance they have to go for their services there, so in their space. And then as we go up a floor, the upper part of the plan, the blue area there, is the clerk register area, and with 4 public service windows on the left side, lots of glass, very open, make it easy for the public to access services there. And then also, we lost it, so also in that area though, we have nice opportunity for computer stations for research right in the middle, and then the public vault off to the right side for all of the documents that are housed for people to also be able to access, and then a private vault for some of the things that need to be kept secure in that area and the upper right part of the plan. And then the lower part of the plan, so a great new feature is that we're opening up the building again from the street side. So being able to enter the building there, bringing back the original front doors, and trying to replicate those to the original from a few photographs we have, trying to replicate them as close as possible to what was there originally. And as you come in, a little stairwell up, half a flight of stairs to get you up into that main floor area there. There's also a lift there, so that anyone with mobility issues can take the lift up, or if someone's in a wheelchair, they'll have access through that entrance. And then out the entrance on the exterior will also have sloping sidewalks that allow for access, so someone can park in the street out there and access the building from that side. So this is kind of the second floor, main floor. Off to the right is the treasurer's office. And 3 public windows, again, lots of glass in that area over there. And as we go up a floor, yeah, we should, thank you. So the original building had a great central stair in it that was closed off, and a fire stair was built in the 70s. And so now we've actually removed that fire stair and have brought back the central stair that will connect all 3 floors, from the ground floor all the way up through the 3rd floor where the commissioners' chambers are. So very open, will allow for easy navigation. We're really trying to make it easy for the public as they enter this building to really understand where to go. That's one of the challenges of this building today, is this long corridor and everything looks the same and we don't really know where we should go. So this being very open, so having that opportunity there. And so then as we go up, the dome, the original dome is still up there in the center as you come up that open stair. And seeing that, and the original millwork and doors from the courtroom are also there. So you'll come in through those into the gray area there, which will be the commissioners' chambers. And off to the right side of the plan, we'll have your desk areas for the commissioners with great technology, microphones and voting station, and much better technology than you have today in that area. And then also throughout the room, having cameras set up so that the public remotely can participate in the meeting much more effectively and really understand what's going on in public meetings within that space. And then plenty of room for public audience to be there. The room is also designed to sort of mirror and flip, so it can be used as a training room. So the administration team and others might be able to use that room for trainings, or people from the community also perhaps using that room. Off to the right side of the commissioner's chambers, behind the big desk, is a commissioner's workroom. So prior to a meeting or after a meeting, house your materials, have a place for you. And then the yellow area there, a conference room, so if you have to go into a closed session, having a space there with very good technology in that as well. And a couple of the other yellow spaces in that plan are also other meeting spaces and smaller training rooms to be used. The top part of the plan in blue is the administration team across there, that entire area. So administration and commissioners on the third floor. The toilet rooms in the existing connector, some of those will be removed because we just don't need as many. Today, all those toilet rooms are serving both halves of the building, and so we're not planning to serve this half of the building anymore with those. So a few of those have been removed and opened up for storage rather than renovating them and just having excessive toilet room spaces. So as we keep going forward here a little bit, so we'll talk a little bit more about the interior finishing components.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So, as we were looking, as we were looking for the inspiration for the design of this building, the interior finishes, we were looking to Cass County itself, to the natural landscape of the area, as well as to the crest of the county, which has a sailboat representing the lakes you guys have here, the corn representing the rural, the farming community, as well as the cabin in the woods, kind of just the rural nature of this county in some areas. And so we wanted to bring that in and represent that throughout the building in the form of branding, as you can see here. Basically assigning each floor sort of a theme, field, forest, and lake, which will be shown through the branding of the building, as you can see, like for wayfinding signage to help people orient themselves as they're moving through the building, and also with our color palette, even with our finishes. So for example, in some of the conference rooms on each floor, we are bringing in carpeting and wall coverings and other things that, again, help orient you to which floor you're on in the building, and also just bring in some of the natural color palette of nature of lakes and forests and fields. And also bringing in a lot of wood tones. And this building is a very historic building. We wanted to be sensitive to making it feel classic and timeless in a lot of our detailing. So for example, this is a view coming in from that second floor main entrance off of Broadway. And you'll come up this half stair, and directly ahead of you will be the main stair, the main core. And you can see kind of on the back of that stair some branding that again sort of ties into those themes of the fields, the lakes, and so on. And on the right we have the treasure windows, so you can start to see the amount of glass, the openness for the public as they're coming in, and having some large signage and things like that up to the right you can see, just to help people orient themselves and understand where they are. This is a good image showing what we intend the stair to look like, that central stair. We're bringing in wood, we're bringing in some wrought iron type look and other historical lighting, things that feel reminiscent of the original look and feel of the building. Even in the center you can see there's a historical handrail that actually is from the original building. There's some things that we still have reclaimed, and the hope and the goal and what we plan to do is to bring some of those pieces in and reuse them. Here's just some more examples of lighting, fixtures, color palettes, and things like that. Crown molding and trims that again feel historical and timeless. This would be in the lower level across from the chapel. I wanted to bring in some wood into the stair, as well as bench seating and some places that just feel comfortable for the public to wait, sit, and rest. Here's an example of the chapel, or a photo of the chapel, a rendering. Again, bringing in, having these large, wide open glass doors, so the space can be really fully open into the hallway. So if there's a large group for a wedding, you have space to kind of flow out into that center core, or to be able to close it for a smaller ceremony or for a private meeting. Again, this is an example of the service windows, the amount of glass and openness, probably also bringing in some shades and things like that that can allow people to work privately if they need to, but to be available generally for the public, and always be sitting there and ready to answer questions and serve the public. another photo angle. This will be looking back out to that main entrance. You can see the archway there. We've uncovered even the original limestone behind that on the back side of that arch that we want to bring out, expose. And so having a large glass wall there for a vestibule, we do need a vestibule just for code and energy reasons, but to allow that really to be visible and highlighted from that space. Here's our dome. We come up with some ideas. We're gonna have probably some cove lighting and things like that to really highlight that. But what's actually in that dome, we're working through with our branding package. Hopefully maybe we can bring in a local artist or something like that, to really just put some like pizzazz back into that dome and just make it a really special moment in the building. This would be the view coming up to the stair up under the dome. On the right, you can see there's a bit of a gallery there. The idea is to have a history wall there, something that has some branding that would represent the history of Cass, of the building, of the county itself. Kind of a moment for people to stop and learn. And then proceeding forward into the commissioner's chamber through the original doors, which we're also maintaining. Here's some of the detailing that we currently have in the space. The doors, as I mentioned, up on the top right there. The space itself is just magnificent, really high ceilings, beautiful plasterwork on the cove ceiling. It's just like got a large cove essentially going there that we're all maintaining all that. Original wood flooring that we're hoping to also clean up and keep in the space. And then this was just some of our inspiration in the space. You can see there's even some column capitals that we were planning to reuse in the space. So for example, here this would be looking towards the commissioner's desk. We have brought in this arch to be able to have the crest. You can see kind of between the two arches, we're trying to have some pilasters there and bringing in the original column capitals there, as well as maintaining the original trim work on the windows, and again, some of the wood flooring as well. And then one of the last things we're also going to be working on, this is not fully designed yet, but going back to that history wall, is the branding package for this building. And when we say branding, the brand is really Cass and the people of Cass. And so the goal here is to put throughout the building different moments where we're able to talk about, the history of Cass County, its people today and the past, veterans and other things that are, like history and things like that are very important, and that really kind of bring it all together, the whole package of what Cass County is today and in the past and the future, as well as wayfinding and things like that, just to make sure that the building is easy to access, easy to move through, and that people can find their way to the services that they need. And that's it.
Great, so a few more things, just on the technical side. The exterior of the building is in fairly good shape overall, but the stone masonry will be tuck pointed and cleaned up and secured. The flashings and roofing, the same thing. The roof be replaced in recent history, so it's in very good shape. Needs a little touch up. We'll ensure that all the flashings and components, anything that was painted on the building originally, will be repainted again. So again, making sure that exterior is good for the next 50 years. And then the foundation will get a brand new waterproofing and drainage system. The foundation, which is also half of the wall of the lower level, especially out on the street sides, is basically just rubble. And so we have a pretty sophisticated waterproofing system that will come in there and make sure we don't get water in like has happened in the past. So really be able to seal that up and protect your investment on all sides of the exterior. Make sure we keep water out. It's always the biggest challenge with buildings. Also to note, the building will be fully fire suppressed. Really important in old buildings with really dry wood. And it allows us just to open up the interior, right, and not have to do something like this building by creating fire compartments. So that fire suppression system will be a big improvement there for you. Just some numbers here that might be interesting to you. There are 76 new doors going in and 112 windows. There are about 100 rooms and spaces. So we kind of look at these little plans and sometimes it's hard to imagine what is all this stuff that's in there. There's 44 mechanical units going in the building. So previously the building was run by a few very large units. And so those are not very energy efficient because they're moving air all the time, and it doesn't really matter if the space needs conditioning or not. It's just moving air and burning energy versus more compartmentalizing into smaller rooms, smaller spaces with more control for individuals as well, with much smaller units that only come on when they need to come on. So you can imagine the sun beating on the south side of the building might be air conditioning, but the north side is in shade and it doesn't. So that allows the building to be much more energy efficient and allow the occupants to have much more control over their spaces and comfort. So that'll be a huge improvement in that building. There's 23 security cameras, and we've so far created 150 drawings to document all the different components. That includes AV systems, so we've worked with the consultants on good AV and tech throughout the building, security systems, access control, the card readers on the doors. Almost every door in the building is access controlled. Again, some of them are open during public hours and then secured after hours. Some of them are always secure. So that's been worked through with your team and designed in great detail. So next steps would be after this, what we call our construction document phase. And that's where we set final dimensions, we detail out every component, we make sure everything is specified fully so that when it goes to construction, the construction team knows exactly what to implement. So that is all the interior details and notes and everything throughout our document set, and all of the final engineering. And that's, that engineering will be coordinated. That's one big place where you're able to find cost savings is really working with subcontractors on how to refine the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems to make those serve our needs, but not cost any more than they needed to. So that is about a 6 or 7 week process to get to those final drawings, but there'll be a little bit of overlap, so construction can start. We start to mobilize and procure long lead items as a first step in construction to make sure that, especially what we've seen over the last 18 months, some things take a lot longer than they used to acquire. So we start to mobilize that on the construction side. So happy to answer any questions you might have. Obviously, this is a huge project. Super. It's 20 years, right, of waiting for to identify what to do with this space. And we're so excited. It's been just such a pleasure working with your team on all these details. So many different people that we've communicated with and learned from about the spaces and how to serve, how we can help them do their jobs better to serve the public better, and really create a fabulous, new opportunity here in Cass County for administration.
Floor is open. Do you have questions? Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, I have actually 7 questions. You answered one of them because I was not familiar with value engineering, and you answered that, so thank you, Bill. Okay, so my first question, and I don't have to ask all of the questions if you want me to hold off a bit. Okay, all right, here we go. Will there be, in fact, Commissioner Grice and I, are there permits that you're going to need from the village of Cassopolis?
Yes, so, we've designed this building to meet all the life safety codes and requirements of the state of Michigan, and in addition to that, including the Americans with Disabilities Act and all of those things. So yes, it's been designed for that, and we'll go through a plan review process to ensure that all of those codes have been met, and, we're all on the same page with that. Our interpretations of code are their expectations as well. So yes, so that's absolutely a process that will happen.
But will you need permits from the village of Edwardsburg? I said Edwardsburg. I'm sorry, that's where I'm from. From the village of Cassopolis.
Yes, that's the plan, is to go through them for those permits.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
and we're working to see if there are other avenues there. I mean, we know we have to do inspections and follow code, but we're still working through that. I think we plan to have that in there in case, but if we can find an alternative, we would look at that too.
Sure.
I'm sorry, an alternative to getting building permits from the office?
Well, in some cases, municipal entities, the permit process can be a little bit different. So we're kind of trying to work to determine, if we have to, go through with the normal permitting process, or if there's, a different option we can look at. I mean, we're planning to have to do that, but.
We have plans that are designed by engineers and architects, so there's gonna be an avenue of discussion with the village, and we just haven't had that discussion yet.
Okay, Commissioner Marquetti, are you done?
No.
Okay, let her finish talking.
Okay, so, all right, wait, I gotta cross that off. Okay, timeline. So, okay, this is the disbursement timeline of the money. Am I right?
That was a conceptual look at that, just for your planning purposes.
Okay,
That's
so
from
no.
Plaza Corp. Plaza Corp produced that, they may be able to speak to that.
No, I understand it, but my question is there a timeline for completion of the project?
Yeah, and with Plaza Corp kind of overseeing the actual construction part potentially here, depending on the decision today, do you mind if they answer some of these questions?
Oh, gosh,
too?
I have questions for them as well. Andy, where are you? You're gonna be in the hot seat. You're gonna be in the hot seat too, so.
That's right, so again, Andy Wenzel with Plaza Corp. So the final completion is 12, what was it, 12? Yeah, 12. Is December, right, of 23. So it's quite a project. And,
It is.
Yeah, to do it right especially.
Well, and we like it. Yes, okay, so good, that answers that question. Because my
I was
second
gonna stay in
question.
the background here.
My second question was when do we move in? So now we know, right?
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay, so now here's my third question. This is for Bill, Intersect Studios. I got, read this thoroughly, and, my question is, page 2 of 2, terms and conditions, reimbursable expenses. I see all of that spelled out, and the charge per hour of staff, but my question is, those charges are in addition to your fee, yes, no?
The fees include all of our hourly rates. So hourly rates are listed there.
I see
There
it.
was additional services on an hourly basis, but what we've proposed to you is a fixed fee. So all of our hourly costs are in there. But yes, the things like copies or mileage, travel, those are what the
Those
reimbursable
are
expenses are.
reimbursables,
And
okay.
as well as our consultant costs too.
Okay, so there are, so the bottom line that we see will,
Includes all of that, right?
it
So we've
includes it all. So in other
The
words,
budget that was put together includes all of our projected costs, our contract, everything that we put down for you.
Okay,
It's a
so-
total project cost is what we developed for you.
so, but what you are saying is it's possible that we will get a bill from you for travel, for copying, for,
Yes, ma'am.
okay?
But the budget you have in your hands accounts for those things as well.
Oh,
we-
okay, okay.
So we've estimated all of that.
And that's in the budget.
Our goal was to give you that sheet you have there as the
That's
idea
it.
is a guaranteed maximum price. Don't
Okay.
spend more than that.
Okay.
That's our mission.
Okay, so.
Or less. If you
okay.
want to spend less, that's always your option, is to direct us on what the budget should be.
Okay, so then, my next question is for Plaza Corp. And I got that from this. And, also, reimbursables are in addition to the bottom line as well as third-party expenses.
And that's where, and again, similar to what Bill just stated, we've estimated those in the budget. So
Okay.
your budget number includes that. We don't anticipate, we're pretty thorough. I mean, we have 35 years of experience in working on historic renovation of buildings. And so we feel like we have it nailed down pretty good.
Okay, I have, that's kind of like a three-part question.
Sure.
Okay. So then, okay, so, on page 2, 1.4, at the bottom of this text, it says, county will be handling payment process.
So the process there would be, we are oversight and review. So we make sure that when invoices come in, we do the review and, very detailed evaluation and analysis of what was said to be done and what actually got done, and then we approve those for payment.
Okay.
So it's more of the payment of those invoices.
So the process is that you approve the payment, present them to the county, and then we pay it.
We review it with the county, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Perfect, okay. Okay, now, licenses. Who's got the appropriate licenses? Like
So-
builders, et cetera?
Right, so we contract, we handle oversight, so owner's representation. We actually have an on-staff architect on our team, Matt Bastos, is here with us today. And then we contract with Elite Companies, for instance, which is the general contractor of the project, and subsequently contract with other subcontractors that we make sure are licensed appropriately for what they're doing.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do we have any kind of a guarantee, warranty? I mean, is that something that we're gonna have to look at, you know, once it's completed, or
Right,
are we
so-
gonna know this beforehand?
So the guarantee on?
Your work?
On the work, yes, a warranty. So there will be a warranty, we'll give you a closeout packet of warranty work, how-to book, a binder, that kind of stuff, all that kind of closeout, and that would be included in that. And for certain, it would be probably different for the different mechanical items, for instance, they're gonna have different warranty periods.
Okay.
And so all of that would be included in that, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Well, that's it for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jones?
I don't know who the question would be directed to, but in the beginning, when they were going through initially with the courthouse, we had to check for asbestos. And there was something called remediation, I believe, and for lack of better words, that building got a clean bill of health. And from my understanding is that they drilled down deep, because I remember the conversation we were in, that me and you were in the very beginning, about how deep they have to go and if we're gonna find anything. And I don't remember if anybody assured us that, you know, we're gonna dig in every wall, every crevice, every floor and ceiling and all that. Then, after getting the complete bill, the good bill of health for the building, that there's no asbestos there, then we got a bill saying that we found asbestos.
We did.
And then we got charged as a county so, you know, that I don't know. And I don't expect a full answer now, but I'd like to see, and I've been asked by some of my constituents that are in the know with that, we would like to see that remediation paperwork or process or something like that to make sure there's no funny business and maybe hidden costs and whoops. And if there's a whoops, we all get it. That's life. But, you know, that's serious. And that's a lot of money.
Sure was.
If it was a couple $100, no big deal. But thousands, we
So-
need the explanation for that.
Yes, yeah, I'll give you the short version now, and then
Yes,
sort of
please.
whatever documentation you'd like to see, you know, absolutely is available. So some of the things, for instance, when they do the first round of asbestos testing, they'll test things they can see and access, right? So deep down, I don't know, they're not drilling through, you know, your existing building to get maybe to the deepest level of things. And so that's where some of that asbestos was found. So we had carpet on top of tile, and it's actually the mastic under the tile, for instance, that has asbestos in it. So the tile isn't a problem, the carpet isn't a problem, but now we have asbestos mastic on plywood and subfloor and things like that needs to be removed. The other thing is many of the fire doors in there, they all were full of asbestos. So the same thing, they didn't drill into the fire doors originally, but during demolition, starting to take those out and revealing that, hey, there's a white substance in here, looks like asbestos, had it tested, is asbestos. So it was components like that were, again, they didn't do destructive testing originally, they tested what they could get to and access. So that was that next level. Yeah, because we had paperwork that said, hey, we don't have asbestos, so that was all of our assumptions until we got in there and doing that first round of demolition to open things up, and that's where the other pieces were discussed.
All right. So if there's any other, I guess, questions about that, can I get with just you, just send you an email? Because me and you, I think we share an email address.
Be happy to,
Yeah.
And we'll bring Plazacorp into the conversation to get detailed information about exactly what was found and where.
Yeah, so I'll just
There was
send
a big report put together as well.
I'll send you a message.
Okay, please do.
Thank you, sir.
Can we ask questions?
Not yet, the board. Anybody on the board? Any more questions from the board?
To the board, maybe,
No, from the board.
No, from the board.
to them.
Yeah.
All right.
Are we gonna open this floor up right now, or are you gonna do all your business first?
Well, I may have one more question, but I can wait on it.
Well, if you're gonna ask your question, do
Well,
it now.
okay, so this bottom line here that we have, and I'm assuming that this is it right here, this is the bottom line. But it's entirely possible with that value engineering and the fact that you're gonna be meeting with contractors and everything, that may come in less.
So we've already done the first round of process with that to bring that number down with the subcontractors, is to find money that didn't change the program or what the county has asked for, the different work groups have asked for. So there are still some things that could, we can always reduce dollars more, but the next round of reduction starts to change how things work and function for you. So absolutely, we know that there's an opportunity on the site to not change as much as is planned today, so there's a big opportunity there. And also on the technology side and AV side, not that we don't want to cut too much, because you can see what happens when your tech doesn't work very well. But I think there's opportunities there to certainly look at that. That package hasn't really been vetted yet, so I think there are dollars there that could be saved as well. If we roll up our sleeves and work together with everyone and understand what's mission critical versus would be nice to have, kind of things.
One more.
Go ahead.
I promise, this is the last one. Okay, so, you're, and I think this is basically, Plaza Corp, because I read it in your contract, the reporting of how it's going.
Yeah, John Walsh with Plaza Corp. I oversee our construction facilities department and wrote some notes as people were talking early. I mean, that's huge. That's a big part of what we do. With the core team, you're probably gonna hear from us daily, every other day, 5 times a day. From an actual reporting standpoint, at a minimum, that contract does say monthly.
It does.
I would anticipate an every other week progress meeting with the contractor, separate meetings with owner, architect, contractor. And from that, what we'll do is we have a variety of reports, and it starts very basic, and drill down deeper and deeper and deeper. Where are we at from a budget standpoint? Where do we sit on schedule? And it's, December 23rd is a long ways away, so we'll break it into milestones, kind of a one-page summary, and we'll just kind of work together in more detail. We can always pull that in as we go, but at a minimum monthly, I anticipate twice a month.
Okay, thank you, John.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, the floor is open. The floor is open. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, this reporting that you provide, is that something that we would be able to provide in a board packet so that the public would be in?
And that was gonna be the follow-up.
Yes, certainly, and
that's gonna be a concern, I think, within the county.
Sure.
We heard that. I think that's a big part of what we do, is having that in a good format that shows transparency.
Yeah.
We can drill deeper as much as we want, but we're used to working with public entities, and this stuff becomes public record.
Sure.
We don't wanna force you to have to come in and dig through it. We wanna make sure it's accessible. I have some different ideas that we can talk about should this project move forward to make that even easier, but the public will certainly have access to that at your discretion.
See, what I would like, and this is my thought on it, is like, when we have 2 meetings a month, I know one particular meeting, we're getting the finance director's report, for example. It would be nice to know, hey, maybe it's the first meeting of each month, I know I'm getting your report, and then the public also knows, hey, if I want the status update, we're gonna have a monthly report on that, and they can kind of know what's going on.
I think that's perfect, and once we know those timings, we just adjust our schedule to match yours. I mean, we don't have to do the first Tuesday of every month for every project.
It's just a
suggestion. I think that's a great suggestion.
Yep, and actually, I think we've had some discussions too about leveraging the website
No, I
and
think
having
so
a
too, yeah.
specific courthouse page that can kind of track progress and updates and things like that too.
Okay, you have a question, you said?
I have a question for Matt once this is done. Matt, I'm reading all through your memos and everything, you're saying you talk to maintenance, IT and all them. Are you keeping our staff in the loop on all the building process? Are you talking to our people, our expertise, our IT, the maintenance and all that? Are you talking to them and keeping them here? Because once these people leave, they're involved with this stuff, so are they involved with the decision-making on these resolutions and stuff?
In terms of the internal stuff, man, I can tell you, for example, with the technology side of things, Jody has been directly involved in the meetings we've had with the contractor to kind of investigate what would work. We've talked a couple different times about Dave Reef and utilizing his services and making sure he's up to date on what we're doing. And you're right, absolutely. When this whole process is done, maintenance has to be responsible for taking care of the building. IT is going to have to utilize the security systems and the technology we have in the commissioner chambers. And we want to make sure that everybody's up to speed. So when we have a presentation, for example, we get it set up to where it's working exactly the way it needs to. I think, yeah, that of course is the plan, is to have everybody involved.
So should it be involved now, though, on the plan, so they can understand what's coming into our building? I'm just curious. Because we've seen it before where buildings get built, contractors leave, and all of a sudden we got issues nobody knows how to address.
Well, I think probably, where we would see a lot of that is as we start getting into kind of the final construction process here with design prints and things like that is, working with Intersect, Plaza Core, and making our teams available to kind of coordinate with them to have these discussions. So maintenance is a prime example. We've got a tentative idea in place for how we would do that. We just do talking about that with the different, units for mechanical. But allowing Dave to be able to come in and see, okay, what is the brand and the model number and how do they work and where what are our concerns with respect to maintenance? I think we're coming upon the point where we're likely to see that as a primary driver. I don't know if we've been there quite yet, but we're reaching that.
And with that said, I'm sure our IT and maintenance, they already have people that they go to for certain mechanical functions and IT functions and things. I would hate for them to bring something from outside that's new to our people when they have their own recommendations, you know what I mean? To where Dave and Jody, they just say they work specifically with Train components or IBM components, but then they bring in Apple or Microsoft, and that's completely foreign to them, so they gotta learn. But they could use something that that's already existing, that works, that we're continuing using, that we already have contracts with and familiar with.
Well, I think it's always a balancing act. Part of it is right, is that knowing what you're familiar with is great, but by the same token, you have to look at what other systems are out there. What is the are we doing an RFP for it? What's the cost? And those are also parts of this whole discussion as well, is that you have to be able to look and figure out what's the best bang for your buck, and maybe what you had and what we've been using for 20 years may not necessarily be the best brand or the best device that we would have going forward. I think there's kind of a whole mix of questions that come up with that. The idea is to make sure that whatever we're doing is the best fit for the building and within the budget. That's really the biggest priority. And like I said, with technology, I know that in the planning sessions, Jody was directly involved in that to make sure that they were aware of what the plans were and actually leading that in terms of what they think we needed.
Yeah.
And we imagine the same thing with maintenance as well.
Just a quick comment. You have excellent people. Dave is incredible. We have open lines of communication with him on these systems. We'll absolutely assure you that we'll be reviewing those things with him because he has to maintain it. He and Ryan both. And to Matt's point, Jody was on point for all the tech and EV as we were developing that, and we'll continue to do so.
And knowing their names answered all of that, so that's great.
I think a way to refine Matt's answers, being in the preliminary stages of all this and getting to the point of knowing it's going to be a foregoing project, then we can dive deeper with each specific department head, so on and so forth, to get them more involved in the process.
Okay, is that all from the board?
I have a procedural question.
Thank you.
If you go into the public.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you going to open this up or add to the agenda another public comment section? And is it gonna be by the rules of public comment, or are you gonna allow back and forth?
No, we're going to,
If it's the latter, I would suggest that we just afford time to the public to talk to the contractors directly.
Directly to contractors,
Back and
and
forth. That might take forever.
that dialogue, but there'll be a time limit. the time limit, but if you have a question for your contractors, direct it to the contractors. Keep it very civil, keep it very straightforward, and go forward.
I'm following in line with Commissioner Benjamin on that. I think there is some time afforded after our meeting concludes that you guys will be present. Are you guys open to fielding some questions from the public after this meeting concludes?
I'd be happy, absolutely.
Does anybody have a problem with that?
Well, do you want to do that? The problem with that is if somebody has some input, we've already decided, so it wouldn't make any difference for them.
Right, so where Robert was going, we have to revise our
Revise our
agenda in order
agenda.
to open it up to allow that to happen.
And I think we should, because
I'm not opposed to that, Chair, to do that. I just want to be very clear, we're opening up public comment, but there's some more dialogue.
It's a dialogue,
I think,
yep.
Either we defer our motions for that dialogue to happen, or.
yeah, if they're gonna just say something and can't be responded to, we shouldn't even go there. But I think the public should have a say on it, make it directly, if the board is fine with that. I think it's.
I think you
I'm
can ask
fine with
it
that.
without
So,
objection.
yeah, no, so.
Mr. Chairman, I'm fine with that, because I would love to hear some of the
I
public
would too.
comment, just
I
to see
agree.
if maybe they say something that we haven't thought of.
So let's put it, let's put a motion out there that basically says we're gonna go to public comment with dialogue with the contractors only.
Chair, I think you can just say if there's no objection to the board that
You guys-
you can open it up.
You
for
guys happy
public
with that?
Yeah, okay.
So, floor is open. Yes, go ahead.
I just had one question in response to what Jeremiah said. What was the cost overrun because of the asbestos, do you know?
I don't know if it was a cost overrun because there was an allowance put together, but.
Oh,
we can
okay.
Speak to this.
It was in the $30,000 range,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah, yeah, here it is.
Yeah, it was in the mid-30s, but our contract for demolition, we did not exceed that. We were able to mitigate it.
Yeah.
Moving forward, we'll try and over mitigate with something under and continue that.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
That's a great answer.
We had anticipated we were gonna do something.
Especially in older historic buildings where there's carpet, they're usually gonna find certain things that they didn't need to look for that before because they weren't working in that area. You know, they do a building inspection and hazardous materials report, and that's usually what happens.
Every single time.
Any other questions from the audience? Any other questions from the audience? Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Kathy. Take your time, honey. Take your time.
This, right,
Can I help you?
no, motion fee, oh, shit.
You got that one.
Take your time.
Get your composure and let us know when you're ready.
This is very emotional to me.
Yeah, we know.
A lot of people have worked on this for decades.
Yeah, true.
But you people do support this ministry, bought a home, and congratulations, and thank you. And your plans are stellar, and thank you.
And we'll applaud with her.
Is there anything else from the, yes, go ahead.
I agree fully with Kathy Bonine, and Kathy Bonine. Well, that's right. Yes, she is Kathy Bonine LaPointe. She's an Underground Railroad house that's been, preserved for our county. And
With national recognition.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
so, we are very, very proud of what you've done, and it's scary.
Oh, it is.
And, the whole, asbestos as well, yeah. So I'm glad that you're right on it, I see you right on it, and we've never done this before, so we all do the best we can. I was appointed a couple of years ago to the Historical Commission, and would lay my body against that castle of ours.
Sure.
Because of that year, that particular year, I was, before COVID, I was in, Europe, and they preserve their castles. So what is this to us?
Yeah.
It's our castle.
Yeah.
And you're doing a great job, and we've got the right people together. What I do wanna know is there a place for the public, other than the commissioners' chambers, that they call their own, as in, if they want to have a meeting or something? More chairs can be added to that commissioner's room, is there enough space?
Yeah,
And then-
there's numerous areas for that to happen.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
There's numerous areas for that to happen.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Basically, all the areas you saw that were shaded in yellow
Yeah, those are
all
yeah.
potential public meeting
Sure.
spaces.
Okay.
Yeah.
With that said, and thank you, Hope, for being our pointer, little bouncing bubble there, that we are here to ask where we might have our historical commission to be able to have their meetings and to be able to have a built room of our own. We right now have been gifted with 2 closets in the annex that we keep our historical books that we make into packets to sell to our community. We just don't want a closet. We'd like something better that we can really showcase our county and the history of our county. And this is the county seat. And as you see these beautiful homes that are in the town of Cassopolis, you can see that it was a very, very prideful place. And we have a lot of pride in this building as well. So we are looking for something that we can call our area to showcase the history. Not just photographs, but actually maybe some display cases and a lot of things have happened in this area. Anything else you want to mention or?
I might just add, I was chair of the historical commission for 4 or 5 years, and when this initial design process started, a very preliminary thing, I was contacted by an employee of yours just asking questions about what the historical commission had currently as space and what we might anticipate in the new building. And as Jean just said, you know, they're right behind that wall there. There are 2 small offices. One we use as storage, one has a desk, and et cetera. But in that early discussion phase, there was a mention that there would actually be a space in the restored courthouse of some size that the public could walk into and see historical artifacts. I mean, I see that on the walls you have made accommodations for that, but you know, she just mentioned the only thing we saw was that kind of closet down on the lower level. So it just seems like that aspect of a historical building with a county board, the historical commission, was just sort of lost it.
Well, I can comment a little bit. You know, one thing we have in the building, and we didn't touch on it very much, but something new that we're doing that we don't have currently is this idea of kind of hoteling space. So the idea would be is that group that may need to, so as the county evolves in the future and needs change, we would have desk space that any of our partners would be able to come potentially reserve. There's, you know, storage and lockers there, so that would be an option. And then the other side of the coin there is I think we have, you know, with those hoteling spaces, there's room for future expansion too. I mean, so some of these discussions can continue.
Yeah,
But
at the end of the day, we have county function that has to take place prior to anything else. We have functioning groups that have to move into that building and continue to conduct business, so we have to accomplish that first.
Yeah,
And when things start to get refined, we're gonna find areas where we're gonna have room here, room there, so on and so forth.
Exactly.
I mean, for example, the treasurer's office, we currently have tax rolls back to 1970 I can't take with me over there. Space is a concern, that has come up. So we're undertaking a project right now where we're scanning in some years of tax rolls and others we're actually putting in our Long Courts building in underground storage, because there is no place in that building for it. So I only bring that up as an example of where there's not room for even all of the things we have right now in this annex.
Anything else from the floor?
I just ask one more question quickly. Internally, you talked about, or and particularly, what that bottom line was that you were showing on the paper, and I don't believe the public that's been shared with the public.
Will be.
Sure.
That will be part of,
Yeah, it will be. It'll go on the website.
well, we're gonna be today, it'll probably,
Yeah.
we'll cover that today.
It's in the agenda.
It's in the packet.
It's on the wall in the back.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Is there anything else from the audience? I'll be the first to congratulate the board for going through this. I first came to the courthouse in 1963. We walked over from Squire's School. I never will forget it because there's a 1963 Galaxy sitting down there and it had a Signal 406 engine in it. I stopped and looked at it because the 406 was like, wow. And then we came into the front door and we looked up and I was like, wow, I was mesmerized. I was also here in 1976 when they done the renovation. They took all that stuff out and put in suspended ceilings because in 1976 that was the thing to do. And that happened and my mother came up here and she was just completely blew away. She said, I don't think this is the way it should be. Couldn't stand on the floor and look up at the rotunda at that time. And we went to the front door and it wasn't there and we were just like, what is going on here? So I've been here long enough to have enough history to say I was here when you could see it from the original state. They converted it to this. And now we're going to be here when it goes back as close as we can get to where it was. So I think we do need to congratulate ourselves on that. So saying that, we'll go to new business.
I have an OMA question.
What's that?
It was raised in the public comment. I just wanted clarification. The meeting announcement for this meeting was published.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did we also put it out on our website?
Yes.
Yes.
And just to reflect my memory, it was 2 meetings ago that we actually, in a public meeting, approved for this meeting to
Yes.
occur.
Yes.
And it was in the minutes that was approved yesterday. I wasn't here, but you guys approved the minutes.
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to make sure that we had that out there.
That's correct.
It would be good that we put that in the web, on our Facebook, so
All
that
our
people can track
agendas
that.
are on the website, special meetings, whatever.
I just wanted to validate that this one was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
That's all I had. We move on.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. Commissioner,
Does everybody have the opportunity to read through the resolutions, or do you want me to read them verbatim?
No, just read. No.
So number 1's Resolution 196-22, resolution engaging Intersect Studio for Phase 3 construction document administration for historic courthouse building. I so move.
Second.
the properly moved supported resolution number 1. Is there any discussion on the resolution? Yes.
So I kind of want to go back to the Cassopolis permit process. And one of the things that was said was we've not been able to meet with Cassopolis yet regarding this, that we want to. It concerns me that we don't have that partnership. This is a building right smack in the middle of a lot of the work that they're doing. So why aren't we having more connected conversations with them, especially to let them know what's going on? Secondly, I don't know if it's just my interpretation of what was said, but I don't want to think that we are trying to sneak around Cassopolis' permitting process. I'd rather us be a partner and make sure that we are following their processes. I'd rather view us as a partner with Cassopolis than working against them.
No, and I would say that we have met with Emily through the planning stages of this on a couple occasions. And with the permitting process, I mean, I think we had looked at, kind of how the rules work and how it works versus, private companies versus public entities. But in the budget, we did plan for permits. And, if that's the direction we would take, I mean, that's fine. I mean, and we may have to do that anyway. I mean, but I'm not opposed to that. I mean, I think that is the right course.
Go ahead.
Something else?
If I might, I can follow up a little bit. We've actually been coordinating with our building officials along the way with code interpretations and with planning and zoning, so we have been meeting.
So that's at Adam?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we've been in communication along the way with our
So, yeah,
interpretations, so
okay.
that we don't get to the end with our assumptions and
Okay.
and try to see what they think, so that part of it has been ongoing.
Okay.
I have one other question.
Oh, you gonna do it now, or
You gotta.
I can let somebody else go if they want to.
go ahead and have discussion? Go ahead.
You gotta speak up though, man.
Sure, thank you, I appreciate that. So the second thing I have is, and I apologize, the sheriff did not have the opportunity to talk to me. I guess he chatted with one or more of you guys regarding the jail and administration office projects that we've already approved and had funded with the ARPA money. He alluded to that either this board and some other action or administration or just non-reaction to or non-movement of his project, that somehow those projects have been put behind this or stopped. Can I get some insight on where we're going with that? My understanding is those are moving forward.
Sure.
Those are prioritized above this project.
No, with that, the discussion that we had around it was essentially looking at kind of the funding available for all of the projects we're looking at with the county and the progress of where we're at. Frankly, with the sheriff's office projects, the jail project is likely to evolve from what was discussed that was in the resolution that was passed, designating funds. It wasn't obligating funds for that project. They were being reserved for that purpose. But there's been discussions about that changing. Is it an expansion to the jail? Is it the control system? The big thing is that, I guess the best way to look at it, right, is that this courthouse project has gone through a three-phase sort of development where we had the programming phases, the development phases, and design phases, and the construction phases. For a project of that nature, we'd anticipate the same thing. And so when looking to the future, the big question is, with the funding we have available now, does it make sense to look at financing a portion of the courthouse project and retaining ARPA money and start paying interest for a project that may be a year or two down the road? That could be entertained, I guess, but I think during the discussions, the idea was that, I think, and of course this is a decision by the board, but those projects are certainly important as well. And if we were going to look at alternative sources of financing for those projects, it would make sense to wait until those projects are at a point where they're ready to go forward, rather than trying to plan for that now. The other thing I guess I would note is that as we go through this process, and I put this in the packet, if there are opportunities for cost savings, grant options, we're going to look to explore those and try to save money. And any money that we've saved in that could then be reappropriated to other projects as well. And so the idea here is looking at kind of the total, guaranteed maximum cost. But if there are ways where we can look to have cost savings and then that money can be reallocated to other projects, that's fine as well. And I think looking ahead to future budgets, we've got opportunities to be able to look at with the sheriff's office project, utilizing public improvement funds. And we mentioned too, there are other opportunities with county-owned properties that may come up that could bring in funds that, while we don't have them now, would serve on the timing of the projects for the sheriff and the jail and the sheriff's office. So I think there's a number of avenues where that makes sense. But at this point, the position of the Capital Projects Committee was looking at allocating those funds that we have available right now to this project and saving on interest rates and things like that. At this point, made more sense than reserving funds and starting to pay bonds and interest at that point. So,
especially for projects that haven't been vetted through the Capital Projects Committee or talked about since earmarking the money when we did back in February of last year.
But the Board of Commissioners, by board action, voted to allocate funds for these projects. And what I'm hearing is outside entities, whether it be commissions or administration, has reallocated those funds without the board's approval.
we haven't reallocated anything.
So that right now, the sheriff's office can continue with those projects?
We have, in resolution 19822, which would be below, that would be addressed in that resolution, and it's also contained in the packet, the discussion on this. That's the board's call.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Nobody's
we're not
making a decision.
allocating anything, it's your decision.
And it's, when I looked at it, I just thought about the projects that we plan on doing. That's one of the projects we plan on doing. I guess in our business, I'm in a business, we allocate the money to the projects that are ready to allocate the monies to. I think we're not turning it down, and it doesn't say we're worried about ARPA money. ARPA money has to be spent before what, next year? I don't even know if they're gonna have, are they on the drawing board yet?
2024.
By 2024, we need to make sure that the money we have for ARPA is used before that time. So I haven't seen, it has to go through the buildings, it has to go through the building committee. We haven't put that, it's on the back burner, but it's on the back burner because the procedures haven't been put in place yet.
And I'm just trying to catch up with whatever conversations were happening here in the building that I'm not privy to yet. So I didn't know that what was happening. My understanding was that stuff was moving forward until I heard otherwise today. And so I'd like to get an update on that project, and probably our next meeting, where we're going with that. Maybe that's going through whatever committee, getting an update from them of where they're prioritizing that. There's obviously some confusion around that, and that impacts this because by these actions, it sounds like we're defunding those projects, at least for the time being.
You're the chairman.
I can speak on behalf of capital projects. I don't want to speak for you.
No, go
We
ahead.
haven't seen anything come through regarding either of those two specific projects since the early on quick design just to allocate the money.
Does the Board of Commissioners know who has action on that right now? Who's the one that's owns the moving of that forward? Is it the committee? Is it the sheriff?
Procedurally, it should be the capital projects committee.
Yeah, but the capital project.
Because they need to make the recommendation to the board to continue voting anything through.
So I'd like to get an update at the next board meeting on that.
Okay, if they propose something to us, phase one,
We'll have to see if they can send us something.
Yeah,
Well,
phase
even
one.
if they say, we're just not doing anything, because then that means the board should take some kind of action to say, well, maybe they're not the appropriate place to be handling it.
Yes.
Last night, we approved $25,000 for Intersect to start working on this, but it's gonna be.
That's an entirely separate project.
Yep.
Than what we're speaking of right now.
Okay.
I didn't see
That's for a potential CDET building.
Yeah.
And the other thing with these is, I think, part of it is that there needs to be, and where our focus needs to be, and we'll talk about this at the next meeting, is having, preliminary meetings here to discuss what are these projects actually even going to be. Other than tentatively saying we need to improve the jail, well, what does that actually mean? And we've had a lot of discussions about the focus being on, sitting with, the specialists that deal with that and saying, okay, what gives us the best bang for our buck? What's the best avenue to deal with this? I need to get an update on where we are with planning that and facilitate that. But that's the other kind of side of the coin here, is that there really isn't any substance to bring to say, here's what the project is. It's not even defined clearly at this point.
Yeah, Chair, I just say, I've been very supportive of the courthouse from the day one I got here. When I stepped up to move for the committee that met for 6 months, I think we extended it for 2 more months. I think you were chair of that, and I appreciate all the members that were on that committee and the previous board that helped launch the beginnings of this. And so I've been very supportive of that, but I know that my district is going to want some of the issues with the jail. If we're limited funds, they're going to want, funding for the jail to be prioritized, and that would be a concern of mine. I'm not saying that we wouldn't do the courthouse, but I think we should solve all of this in one thing, whether it be financing or whatnot. I just would hate to find out later down the road that we just didn't include all of our project thought processes. And that's probably something for the committee to address and make sure that we've got that line of sight. I don't know about the administration in that priority about that, but the jail would definitely be a priority in my district. That's all I have, please.
Anyone else? Any other discussion? Being the resolution, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Leyland,
Of course.
Commissioner File,
Yes.
Chair Dice,
Yes.
Commissioner Marquetti,
Yes.
Commissioner Benjamin,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryce?
Yes.
And Commissioner Jones?
Yep.
Resolution passes. R 19722, Commissioner Leyland.
Resolution 197-22 is a resolution to approve owner's representative agreement with Plaza Corp. Realty Advisors Incorporated. I so move.
Second.
Properly moved and second on the resolution. Is there any discussion on this resolution?
Yeah.
I just think we all know, I mean, if they answered my questions, so we all know.
To answer their questions. There's been a lot of people that fell to the wayside. That's all right. We're great.
They felt they were a waste of time?
No, they fell to the wayside when you put them on trial. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I don't recall who all took the trip up to see the old paper mill that they turned into the health department for Kalamazoo County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys remember how that project turned out?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of legwork into this project currently. We dove into it last February and lots of meetings, lots of time, and actually quite a bit of money spent already working to get this project moving forward, so. I think we made a great choice, making a great choice with Plaza Corp, and that's just my 2 cents. That's all I have.
Any other board comments? Madam Chair, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner File?
Yes.
Chair Dyes?
Yes.
Commissioner Marquetti?
Yes.
Commissioner Benjamin?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryce?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
And Commissioner Leyland?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Number 3.
I'm gonna go ahead and read the body of this one.
Go ahead.
Resolution 198-22, a resolution to obligate funding for historic courthouse renovation. Whereas Cass County endeavors to complete the renovation of the historical courthouse to enhance and improve operations, provide an increased level of service to the county. And whereas Resolution 43-22 designated $5 million of the county's allocated $10 million, we'll say $10.1 million, in ARPA under Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund program of the American Rescue Plan Act for the historic courthouse renovation project. And whereas the completion of Phase 2 design and development services resulted in the creation of a final detailed project budget. And whereas the total project budget is $9,626,276, including $535,418 in contingency and less the already completed interior demolition work. And whereas the project completion timeline will result in project expenditures being spread across fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. And whereas the commitment of funds to the historical courthouse project prior to October 31st, 2022 will guarantee pricing and prevent further cost escalation. And whereas the county currently has $8,118,819.04 remaining in this ARPA funding. And whereas said funding previously designated for use on other county projects shall be redesignated and obligated for use on historical courthouse project. Now therefore be it resolved by the Cass County Board of Commissioners to obligate funding for the historic courthouse renovation project as follows. Number 1, $8,118,819.04 in funding from the Coronavirus and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, also known as ARPA. Number 2, $1,500,456.96 in funding from the Public Improvement Fund. Be it further resolved that the designation of funding does not preclude the county from seeking alternative funding sources or grants as may be applicable to further reduce overall costs. And be it further resolved that the county shall seek all cost-saving opportunities on the project where applicable, which will not have any adverse impact on future operation, function, or maintenance of the historical courthouse. Adopted this 7th day of October 2022, I so move.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded, the resolution. Is there any discussion on the resolution? Yes, Commissioner Marquetti.
Yes, Finance Director Renfro, do you know how, do we have that amount in the Public Improvement Fund?
Currently about 1 million sitting in there right now. We have slated for another 500,000 to go in there this year's fiscal year and 500,000 for next fiscal year.
Any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
Chair, I just, for the record, I'm going to be opposed to the motion until we resolve where the jail funding is going to be. I'd like to see where that that comes into play. Again, I'm not against the project, but I wanna make sure that, we do have, that project that we've already gone through the process of approving, vetted out by the committee, so, I would rather see us entertain this, after that's been addressed, but, that's just my position. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
We know what this project costs, and we know where we can get the money to pay for it.
Any other comments from the board? Madam Clerk?
Chair Dice,
Yes.
Commissioner Marquetti,
Yes.
Commissioner Benjamin,
No.
Commissioner Bryce,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yep.
Commissioner Leyland,
Yes.
and Commissioner File.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Okay, board member comments. Do you have any board member comments, Commissioner File?
I agree with Mr. Benjamin about
Yeah.
the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
I would like to revisit that. I thought once you approved something, that was it. And nobody asked me if we, I don't know, I just feel like that it would be up to the board whether or not to drop that off the agenda or the future things. I mean, I don't know, I feel like I was left out somewhere.
My comment on that too is exactly that. I mean, I come to a meeting just to learn about it, and I'm like, and I was reading through the minutes, I'm like, I didn't miss it in the minutes, so I didn't know what happened. So I think those things that we've approved should be coming right back to us if we're going to reprioritize.
Go ahead.
Did the public's question get answered from the question up there?
Yeah.
It got answered?
I believe so.
They all had a question, did that get answered?
I have another question. Can I
Yeah,
ask
go
it?
ahead.
I read through all the minutes, or all the paperwork that was for this meeting, and it was mentioned that the taxes from marijuana would significantly contribute to the BOC's financial bottom line. What does that amount to, roughly?
Well, I can speak to that. I think the reference we were making is that, we know that facilities have expanded throughout the county, and there's a portion of proceeds from the excise taxes that come into the county as part of that effort. An example of where we saw that in effect and how we budget is we typically budget for what we know is a known quantity from the year prior.
Okay.
As the industry matures, we've seen those increase. So a good example is last year, I think we budgeted 125, was it? 115?
Yeah.
Yep. Or maybe we didn't even budget. It was low, and then we found out that I think that the final total was 225,000. For this year, we were very conservative with budgeting. We used the same number we had from the prior year, but we anticipate that to actually increase. And so the focus there was that with kind of some of the other projects we've looked at, there are other areas where we do think additional proceeds are going to come in that would help kind of fund some of these other projects, depending on what direction we take in terms of how to fund those. So it was that was kind of the idea behind it, was just to showcase that we do think there are additional funds that will be accessible for those other things.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner?
I agree. I think we need to see what we can do for the sheriff.
Yep.
Because it's safety. Totally.
Some board member comments or announcements? Any other board members?
I'd like to see us plan a work study day focused on law enforcement in the county and facilities related to law enforcement.
And get it started.
Comments and announcements? Any other comments or announcements?
Chair?
Yes.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Properly moved. Meeting be adjourned. All in favor, say aye.
She can't